Hey everyone, today's video topic is about consensus protocols. It doesn't sound very glamorous, but it is something that's very important to understand if you're interested in cryptocurrency or blockchain tech in general. It is the groundwork for all of these coins that are out there, so it's important to understand it so you can better understand the project. Let's start with proof of work. This is the one you probably hear of most often. It is what Bitcoin uses, and it is basically exactly what it sounds like. Proving that work was done and proving that the work is correct. Bitcoin and many other altcoins use this consensus system, and they do that so that the authenticity of the chain can be validated and that all parties agree that transactions that happened are correct and accurate. I found an analogy online like usual that might be a little bit more helpful in explaining proof of work. So imagine that you are a kid in a math class and you are taking an exam. And the first kid to get to the answer and be able to prove and show their work that they are correct gets rewarded. Now applying that to the crypto world, the math exam is the transaction and the classroom is the blockchain. The student is the computer or node, and the brain power is referring to the computing power. And then the reference to a lot of effort on the side of the student refers to the amount of electricity that's needed to prove in proof of work. Some downsides for proof of work. Most obviously, it requires work to be done, and that requires electricity. So as far as financial goes, it's definitely the most expensive of the consensus systems. Some of you may have figured this out on your own already, but the hardware to mine is also exceptionally expensive. To the point that unless you have like a warehouse filled with mining equipment, top-end mining equipment, it's basically not even worth it anymore based on the price you have to pay for the mining equipment and the amount for electricity to run all of it, really. So your bill at the end of the month ends up being more expensive than the amount of Bitcoin that you're capable of mining. Another issue is miners moving from the Bitcoin blockchain to another more profitable, easier blockchain, which we've seen happen in the past with Bitcoin and all its little alternating forks. Another downside is the issue with circulating supply. As the circulating amount goes up, the incentive for miners to mine goes down because the availability of coin to be mined is decreasing. So eventually people are going to switch to another blockchain. A final downside to the proof of work consensus systems is something that I discussed in my Crypto 101 video where I covered blockchain tech. The biggest issue is a 51% attack. And basically that means if you have enough computational power to maintain and run 51% of the network, you then can control everything. Proof of stake is the next most popular consensus system. And unlike proof of work, it doesn't use computational power and electricity to solve mathematical equations to come to a consensus. Instead, each node will bet on a block. When that block gets added to the blockchain, whatever node had bet on it will get rewarded. A proof of stake system requires the prover to show a certain amount of staking weight and its age to be able to participate in the betting process. In the proof of stake system, blocks are said to be minted and not mined, and those who validate the transactions and help to maintain the network are also referred to as nodes. Those individuals receive the cryptocurrency as a reward for holding X amount of crypto in their wallet, which helps to, again, maintain the network. In order to validate transactions and create a block, users must first put their coins at stake, which is obviously where the name comes from. In this system, if a node validates a fraudulent transaction, they're going to lose all of their holdings. And on top of that, they're not going to be allowed to participate in the minting process in the future. Meaning the nodes will be incentivized to validate only the correct transactions and help maintain the health and security of the network. In a very loose comparison, it's kind of like keeping money in a savings account. You leave it there, you're not really supposed to touch it, and you will accrue interest over X amount of time. Unlike Bitcoin, where you would need 51% of the mining power in order to overtake the network, with a proof-of-stake system, you would need 51% of the total circulating supply. Depending on the project, that could be a very pricey endeavor. So because of that, this isn't something that most people are worried about happening. A plus side to proof-of-stake is that you don't need expensive mining software in order to participate in the network. You need to leave your computer on 24/7, which is kind of a pain, and the wallet needs to be up and running and on the latest version. And obviously a side effect of that is that proof-of-stake is more efficient and uses less energy because it's not actively doing work, it's kind of just sitting there passively. Some downsides to proof of stake. So the same reason that it's good is also a weakness. The more you hold in stake, the higher rewards you get. And that's kind of a rich getting richer situation. And for obvious reasons, because staking gives you rewards, another weakness is usually this isn't a great currency for transactionary things because people want to hold it and maintain it in the wallet to get rewards. And because of that, people hoard it and it's not going out and doing things, and there's a lot less circulation. Although this helps stabilize the network, eventually some of these coins are going to reach their max circulating supply, and at that point they may become scarce and difficult to get or very expensive to purchase. I want to touch on a little bit more detail of the proof of stake system. There's two kinds of reward systems. One is randomized, and a coin that uses the randomized consensus system is PIVX. Basically, this means the nodes that are receiving the rewards are randomized. This makes it more balanced and more fair for the community. Coin age-based selection is the next one, and that is pretty self-explanatory. Basically means that the next node is picked based on the age of the coins in the wallet. This one is where it's a little bit more unfair, because this is calculated by the number of days that the coins have been staking in the wallet times the amount of coins you have, which gives you a network weight. So you can see where there would be a problem if you're not holding a lot of coins, that your network weight is going to be smaller and there's going to be a less chance of you getting a reward as frequently as somebody who has a lot more coins than you. Most projects have some kind of staking requirement, meaning when you send the coins to the wallet, they have to be in the wallet X amount of days, or they have to be confirmed by X amount of confirmations before that they will be eligible to be staked. Once a user has made a block and received a reward, their coin age resets to 0, and that means that they have to wait a certain amount of time again to participate and get block rewards. On to the next consensus system, which is Delegated Proof of Stake, or DPoS. This consensus system was first used with BitShares, but now you can see it being used with projects like Lisk and Arc. The difference between proof of stake and delegated proof of stake is the difference between direct democracy and representative democracy. In a regular proof of stake consensus system, every wallet that holds coins has the ability to stake. In a delegated proof of stake system, every wallet that holds a certain amount of coins has the ability to vote on a delegate. These delegates perform the functions of validating transactions and maintaining the network. They get to take the transaction fees as profit, and this process is called forging or minting. The idea is then that the delegates will share the profit that they received as the transaction fees with the people who voted for them. For us in the United States, this is almost identical how we receive representation in Congress. So a small amount of people that are elected from our state represent us in the different houses. And we've seen how well that goes over. A cool upside to delegated proof of stake is because you're voting on someone to do the transactions and to maintain the network, your wallet doesn't need to be on because somebody else is doing that work for you. So you can still participate in the network and you will still receive some sort of minting reward, but your wallet doesn't have to be on, which means your computer doesn't have to be on. For people just entering the crypto space, delegated proof of stake may seem like a better option because they can join staking pools, meaning they don't have to hold a lot and they can pool with other people. Whereas with proof of stake, which I brought up before, you have to hold a lot of the coin in order for it to really be profitable. Depending on how much that project is, that could be a really hefty investment. Delegated proof of stake gives people with a small or medium bag of the coins an option to participate in the network, receive rewards, and incentivizes them into buying into the project. Some downsides to delegated proof of stake. The argument is by voting for delegates that we're concentrating the power to a limited amount of people and thus kind of re-centralizing a decentralized cryptocurrency. It could also suffer from the same issues that we see in the Democratic Party, which is voters not being engaged and the system not working properly because there's not enough community involvement. If regular users fail to vote, there will be a tendency for the network to fall into larger stakeholders who at that point can just vote for themselves. And we've actually already seen this happen. I touched on this on my Lisk video, but there's a delegate group called Elite, and they've stopped paying out people who vote for them unless they vote for the entire group of Elite, meaning that gives them control and they're able to manipulate the network. And for the last consensus system, which is a little bit lesser known, is proof of activity. And this is only found in the Decred network, and I covered that topic not too long ago. But basically what they do is they're trying to take the best parts of proof of stake and the best parts of proof of work and combining them into one network so that they work in harmony. Proof of work miners are creating blocks, and the job of the proof of stake miners is to make sure that the proof of work miners are creating blocks that are consistent with the desires of the people that are holding the currency. Some downsides to proof of activity would be that Decred's the only project running it right now, and that basically means that we don't really know as far as Bitcoin level of transactions if the Decred network would be able to handle that. A more major criticism that I've read or seen online about the proof of activity consensus system is that because it's using proof of work and proof of stake, that there is just kind of a lot of moving parts going on, and it's not as easy to get involved with from the beginning, so it might be a deterrent from new people from getting interested because These things by themselves are difficult to understand, so taking all of those parts and putting them together makes it even worse. So to finalize my points, obviously there's pros and cons to everything. I think that proof of work definitely laid the groundwork to come up with more interesting and more efficient consensus systems. I think that eventually proof of work is going to be, I don't want to say obsolete, but definitely less desirable to use for the sole purpose of efficiency and the fact that it's just going to be way too expensive to continue to do that. Overall, I think that randomized selection proof of stake consensus systems like Pivx uses is going to be the best for longevity. It incentivizes people to stay and help stabilize the network, but it also gives everybody an honest shot at actually earning some block rewards. I'm sure eventually there'll be more consensus systems, and I may even have to do this video again, but for the time being, I think I cover the ones that are at least the most popular and the ones that you're going to read about the most online. If any of you guys have any more questions, please feel free to pop on over to my Discord server. I'll leave the info in the description. I want to thank you guys again for watching, and I'll see you guys soon.